The ID skids across the marble floor and spins like it's embarrassed to be seen. Daniel Cola watches it slide away from him, the sound too loud in a lobby built to swallow shame. His chest tightens. The lights above blur. Somewhere, a receptionist clears her throat and looks down at her keyboard like it might save her from witnessing this. "Pick it up," Victor Hale says, lips curled, voice polished and cruel. "And leave." Daniel doesn't move right away. He can't. His knees tremble, and for a moment the polished bank tower tilts like the world itself is reconsidering him. He's 68, gray hair neatly combed, a jacket that's seen better decades, hands rough from a lifetime of honest work on the docks. He is not supposed to be here, at least, that's what the building is screaming at him. Victor steps closer. His suit is expensive. His watch flashes like a threat. "Executive floor is by appointment only," he says again, louder this time so the security desk hears. "So everyone hears. People like you don't walk in here claiming billion-dollar business." Daniel finally bends, slow and careful, as if gravity has doubled. He reaches for the ID. His fingers shake. That's when it hits him. A crushing pressure, like an invisible fist closing around his heart. He inhales and nothing comes. Daniel straightens halfway, eyes wide, mouth opening to say something, anything, but no sound escapes. The lobby fades into a tunnel of light and echoing footsteps. "Sir," someone whispers. Daniel takes 2 steps back. Then he collapses. Chaos erupts. A woman screams. A chair scrapes the floor. Someone yells for help. Security rushes in, radios crackling. Victor Hale freezes, his confidence draining as quickly as the color from Daniel's face. Daniel lies there on the cold marble, eyes staring at nothing, his hands still curled as if holding onto something precious. The envelope in his pocket. Inside it, his ID and a handwritten note from his son. "Hey beautiful souls, pause for 1 second. Where are you watching from today? Drop your city or country in the comments. I want to know how far this story reaches. Because what you're about to hear, it's not just a story, it's a warning." Minutes later, paramedics kneel where power usually stands tall. CPR, defibrillator, urgent whispers. "Too late." "Time of death," one of them says quietly. The words hang in the air like smoke. Daniel Cola is pronounced dead on the floor of the bank that decided he didn't belong. And the man who tossed his ID. Victor Hale swallows hard. Because for the first time in his carefully controlled life, he feels something unfamiliar. Fear. Just hours earlier, Daniel had stood outside this very building, staring up at the glass tower as sunlight bounced off it like a crown. He had adjusted his jacket, inhaled slowly, and whispered the same thing he'd whispered before every hard day on the docks. Stand straight, speak calmly, never beg. Daniel had raised his son that way. Adrian Cola. A boy who grew up counting cargo crates instead of toys. A boy who watched his father choose honesty over shortcuts, dignity over shouting. A boy who learned early that power didn't make you important, character did. Adrian had built something extraordinary from that lesson. A global logistics empire, ports, trade routes, thousands of employees across West Africa and beyond, families who depended on his company for food, school fees, medical care, children whose futures were tied to a single signature scheduled for today. A $2 billion partnership. And today, it all rests on this building. Daniel didn't know the fine details of the deal. He didn't need to. Adrian had only asked one thing of him. "Dad," his son had said the night before, voice calm but serious, "I need you to go in my place tomorrow." Daniel had frowned. "Why me?" "Because I need to know who I'm dealing with," Adrian replied. "Not how they treat CEOs, but how they treat someone they think doesn't matter." So Daniel came. Not as a businessman, but as a test. Back in the lobby, Victor Hale rubs his temples as police ask questions. He gives clipped answers, professional, detached. "Did you know the deceased?" an officer asks. Victor scoffs. Of course not, he was trespassing. Claimed he represented a client in a major deal, clearly confused. The officer looks down at the ID bagged in plastic. The name reads Daniel Cola. It means nothing to Victor. Yet, across the city, in a quiet office overlooking the harbor, Adrian Cola stares at his phone. 3 missed calls. 1 voicemail. He presses play. There's shouting in the background, sirens, a stranger's voice saying words that fracture time. "Sir, there's been an incident at the bank, your father." The rest blurs. Adrian doesn't sit. He doesn't breathe. His hand tightens around the phone until his knuckles turn white. The deal, the meeting, the silence. Everything connects. And something inside him breaks. Beautiful souls, if this moment is tightening your chest right now, let me know in the comments. And stay with me because what happens next will change everything. Back at the bank, employees whisper behind glass walls. "Did you see how he dressed? He shouldn't have been here. Victor was just doing his job." But no one says the truth out loud. That cruelty doesn't always shout. Sometimes it wears a suit. Sometimes it flicks an ID and looks away. As Daniel's body is wheeled out, the envelope slips from his pocket and lands unnoticed near the revolving doors. Inside it, the handwritten note remains unread. And inside that note is the last key Victor Hale never knew he threw away. By nightfall, the $2 billion deal will vanish without explanation. By morning, Victor Hale will still believe he's untouchable. And somewhere between arrogance and grief, a son will decide how justice should really be served. But this is only the beginning. The city doesn't sleep the night Daniel Cola dies. It hums, it whispers, it pretends nothing has changed. But in a dark office overlooking the harbor, Adrian Cola sits completely still, his father's envelope open on the desk in front of him. He hasn't cried yet. Shock holds him upright like a pillar made of glass, strong, silent, seconds away from shattering. Inside the envelope is the ID Victor Hale tossed away like trash. And the note. Adrian unfolds it with shaking hands. "Son, if you're reading this, it means today tested more than a deal. Remember, how people treat the powerless tells you everything. Do what you think is right. I'm proud of you, Dad." Adrian closes his eyes. That's when the tears come. Not loud, not dramatic, just steady, burning, unstoppable. Because his father didn't just go to the bank. He walked straight into a system that killed him, and smiled while doing it. Hey beautiful souls, quick check-in. Where are you watching from right now? Africa, Europe, America? Drop it in the comments. This story is bigger than one city. The phone vibrates. Adrian ignores it. Then it vibrates again. And again. Finally he looks. Maya Akefer, his chief legal officer, the only person in the company who knows everything. He answers. "They disrespected him," Adrian says before she can speak. His voice is quiet, dangerous. "Didn't they?" Maya exhales slowly. "I just got the preliminary report, surveillance footage, witness statements." Silence stretches. "Maya," Adrian says, "tell me the truth." "They humiliated him," she replies, "and then they let him die." Something shifts in the room. Not rage. Focus. Adrian straightens. "Then the test is complete," he says. Maya hesitates. "You planned this as an integrity check, not this." "I plan to see their character," Adrian replies. "They showed me." He looks back at his father's note. And then he says the words that change everything. "Activate phase black." Maya goes quiet. Phase black isn't revenge. It's exposure. Across town, Victor Hale pours himself a drink he doesn't need. The bank's legal team already reassured him. No charges, natural causes, an unfortunate incident. He loosens his tie and smirks at his reflection. People shouldn't wander where they don't belong, he mutters. His phone buzzes. A message from the board liaison. Deal postponed. Client went silent. Victor shrugs. Deals stall all the time. What he doesn't know is that at that exact moment, Adrian Cola's signature, worth $2 billion, is being quietly withdrawn from escrow. No announcement. No threats. Just absence. And in global finance, absence screams. The next morning, Maya walks into Adrian's office carrying a thick folder. This is everything your father unknowingly unlocked, she says. Inside are documents Daniel never knew existed, but Adrian did. Vendor audits, internal emails, risk reports buried under layers of approvals. Maya flips to one page. Victor Hale has been laundering reputations, she says, approving loans for companies flagged for labor violations in exchange for consulting fees routed through shell firms. Adrian's jaw tightens. Another page. 3 wrongful foreclosure cases buried, settled quietly, families displaced. Another. Regulatory bribes, offshore accounts, and this. She stops. Adrian looks up. The bank's expansion license, Maya says. It hinges entirely on your deal. Without it, regulators reopen everything. Adrian leans back slowly. So this is why Victor felt untouchable. Power stacked on silence. Money stacked on fear. And then Maya drops the final bomb. There's more, she says. Your father wasn't the first. Adrian's eyes snap up. He's just the first one who died in the lobby. If this story is hitting you the way I think it is, you're going to want to subscribe right now, because what comes next will blow your mind. Adrian stands and walks to the window. The harbor below buzzes with cranes, ships, movement, life his company made possible. Victor Hale thinks I'm a ghost, Adrian says. Good. He turns back to Maya. We don't attack him directly. She nods. We let him hang himself. Over the next week, Victor's confidence grows. The deal delay irritates him, but it doesn't scare him. He hosts dinners, shakes hands, laughs loudly. Then subtle things begin to happen. A compliance review request, a postponed international transfer, a surprise audit notice. Victor brushes them off. Routine, he tells his team. I've survived worse. What he doesn't see is Adrian watching. Every reaction, every lie, every email sent in panic at 2 a.m. Because the man Victor dismissed as someone who didn't matter. Left behind a son who controls the oxygen this bank breathes. At Daniel's funeral, dockworkers stand beside CEOs. Rough hands clasp polished ones. Adrian doesn't speak. He doesn't need to. The silence honors his father better than any speech. A young boy, one of Daniel's grandchildren, tugs Adrian's sleeve. Grandpa didn't do anything wrong, he says softly. Adrian kneels. I know, he replies, and because of that, a lot of people are about to learn something. Location check, beautiful souls. If you're still here, type justice in the comments, because the power dynamic has just flipped. That night, Maya sends Adrian one final file. Subject line, executive floor camera footage unedited. Adrian presses play. He watches Victor flick the ID. He watches his father bend. He watches the collapse. Adrian closes the file. The plan is no longer theoretical. It's personal. And Victor Hale, he has no idea that every step he takes now is directly into a trap built by grief, truth, and a legacy that refuses to stay buried. But wait, because the strike hasn't even begun yet. Victor Hale feels untouchable again. The audit's slow, the emails stop, the deal, though delayed, hasn't been officially canceled. In Victor's mind, silence means victory. He stands at the executive floor window, coffee in hand, watching the city move beneath him like it exists for his convenience. "See," he tells his assistant with a smug grin, "storm past." What Victor doesn't know is that storms don't always roar. Some of them wait. Across the city, Adrian Cola sits in a secure conference room with Maya and two unfamiliar faces. One is an elderly man with wire-rimmed glasses and a posture sharpened by decades of authority. The other is a woman in her 40s, calm, observant, carrying herself like someone who's seen institutions fall. "This is Commissioner Rafik Mensa," Maya says, "former financial crimes regulator." Rafik nods. "Your father's death reopened doors I thought were sealed." "And this," Maya continues, "is Layla Grant, international ethics auditor. She's been tracking Victor Hale for years." Layla leans forward. "He's careful, but he's greedy. That's his flaw." Adrian listens silently. "How do we make him move?" Adrian finally asks. Layla smiles slightly. "You give him something he can't resist." "Beautiful souls," quick pause, "where are you watching from right now? Let me see those comments, because this next part, this is where the hunter steps out of the shadows." Phase black shifts into phase mirror. Adrian authorizes a controlled leak. A rumor spreads through elite banking circles. A mysterious private consortium is seeking a new banking partner for a multi-billion-dollar infrastructure fund. Confidential, discreet, no media. Victor Hale hears about it within hours. He doesn't ask questions. He asks for introductions. Within days, a meeting is scheduled. Private, off the books, exactly how Victor likes it. The meeting takes place in a luxury hotel conference suite. Victor enters smiling, confident, already rehearsing his charm. Across the table sits a proxy. A man named Mr. Langford, polite, neutral, forgettable. Victor talks. And talks. He boasts about his influence, his discretion, his ability to handle regulators. Every word is recorded. Every promise documented. Every illegal suggestion archived. Victor thinks he's winning. He doesn't notice the subtle questions guiding him. "Hypothetically," Langford asks, "how would your bank handle compliance issues if certain incidents became public?" Victor laughs. "Money buries noise, always has." Back in Adrian's office, Maya watches the live feed. "He's saying it himself," she whispers. Adrian's eyes remain fixed on the screen. "No," he says quietly, "he's confessing." Days later, Victor receives good news. The consortium is impressed. They want him exclusively. He celebrates, raises a glass, mocks the old man who collapsed in his lobby. Karma, after all, seems slow. Then the first strike lands. A major corporate client withdraws overnight. Then another. Then another. Victor storms into a board meeting. "What's happening?" he snaps. A director clears her throat. "Reputational risk. Investors are nervous." "Nervous about what?" Victor demands. No one answers. Because they can't say his name out loud. Subscribe, reminder, beautiful souls, because if you think this is intense now, you're not ready for what's coming. Victor calls Maya. She doesn't answer. He calls Adrian's office. Straight to voicemail. For the first time, unease creeps in. Then his phone buzzes. An email. Subject: regarding your lobby incident. Attached: still frames from the security footage. Victor's stomach drops. Another email arrives seconds later. Subject: offshore account inquiry. Then another. Subject: ethics review notice. Immediate action required. Victor's world starts to tilt. He rushes to the bank, demanding answers. But the building feels different now. Whispers follow him. Eyes avoid him. The same floors that once amplified his authority now echo his isolation. In the lobby, Victor pauses. He looks down, at the exact spot where Daniel Cola collapsed. For the first time, guilt tries to surface. He crushes it. "This is a bluff," he mutters. The confrontation comes that evening. A formal summons. A closed-door emergency board session. Victor enters ready to fight. Adrian Cola is already seated. Victor freezes. "You," he scoffs, "and you are." Adrian stands slowly. "My name is Adrian Cola," he says, "CEO of Cola Global Logistics." Victor's blood drains from his face. "That's impossible," Victor whispers. Adrian's voice remains calm. "You tossed my father's ID across your floor," Adrian continues. "You told him people like him don't represent billion-dollar deals." He places the ID on the table. "The same one. Face up." Silence crushes the room. Truth bomb after truth bomb detonates. Recordings, emails, financial trails. Board members stare at Victor like he's already fallen. Victor laughs too loudly. "This is extortion," he shouts. "You can't provide." The door opens. Regulators step in. Layla Grant among them. "Actually," she says, "we can." Victor's confidence collapses in real time. But just when it seems over, the chairman clears his throat. "We're adjourning," he says, "effective immediately. This matter requires further review." Further review. Delay. Escape. Victor looks at Adrian, hope flickering. Adrian doesn't smile. Because this was only the first layer. Location check, beautiful souls, if you're still with me, type exposed in the comments. As Victor leaves the room, his lawyer whispers urgently. "They're stalling," the lawyer says. "We still have options." Victor nods, clinging to the lie. But outside, reporters are already gathering. And somewhere deep in the system, a failsafe Adrian didn't plan for begins to activate. An unexpected injunction, a sealed order, a technicality. The investigation stalls. Victor breathes again. And Adrian receives a call that makes his blood run cold. "Maya," the voice says, shaking, "they're burying it." For the first time since his father died, Adrian doesn't have control. The trap worked. The truth is out. But justice is slipping. And as Victor Hale steps into the night, temporarily free, the cost of this battle threatens to become far greater than anyone imagined. Because now, everything is on the line. The headlines fade faster than Adrian Cola ever expected. One day, senior bank executive under investigation. The next, inquiry paused pending review. And just like that, silence. The kind of silence that swallows truth whole. Adrian stands in his office, tie undone, staring at the city that once felt so orderly. Now it looks rigged, familiar, cruel. "They're protecting him," Maya says quietly. Her voice carries exhaustion, something she almost never shows. Political pressure, lobbyists, old favors being called in. Adrian nods. Power doesn't panic when exposed. It closes ranks. "Hey, beautiful souls, quick check-in. Where are you watching from right now? Drop it in the comments because this is the moment where everything looks lost." Victor Hale feels the shift too. The fear loosens its grip. The regulators retreat. The board avoids him, but they don't remove him. He pours himself another drink and exhales. "Told you," he says to his lawyer. Noise fades. But something still itches. Because even though the investigation stalls, the deal is gone. $2 billion vanished. And that loss has a weight no influence can erase. The pressure hits Adrian from every side. Shareholders worry, partners grow nervous, competitors circle like sharks. A junior executive bursts into the office. "Sir," he says, panicked, "if we don't stabilize soon, thousands of contracts could freeze. Families." Adrian raises a hand. "I know," he says. "Children, dock workers, truck drivers, families who did nothing wrong. His father wouldn't sacrifice them for vengeance." That thought nearly breaks him. That night, Adrian sits alone in his father's old house. The place smells like oil, paper, and quiet dignity. He opens a drawer he hasn't touched since the funeral. Inside, notebooks. Daniel's handwriting fills every page. Shipping notes, observations, names. Adrian frowns. These aren't sentimental journals. They're records. One page stops him cold. Hale Bank patterns of disrespect, small clients ignored, elderly man denied access, woman turned away with child. Dates, times, witnesses. Daniel had been watching long before the lobby. Not as a victim, as a guardian. Location check, beautiful souls. If you believe legacy matters, type legacy in the comments. Adrian flips further. A folded document slips out. An audio recorder. A label in Daniel's careful script. If they try to erase it. Adrian's breath catches. He presses play. Daniel's voice fills the room, calm, steady. "I don't know if this will matter," his father says, "but I believe silence is how cruelty survives." The recording continues. Conversations, dismissals, laughter. Including Victor Hale's voice. Clear, undeniable. Adrian sinks into the chair. This wasn't revenge preparation. It was protection. Maya arrives at dawn. Adrian hands her the recorder. Her eyes widen as she listens. This bypasses everything," she whispers. "This isn't corporate evidence. This is human evidence." "Then we don't fight them as corporations," Adrian says. "We fight them as people." Victor's return to confidence shatters 3 days later. A leaked documentary teaser goes live. Not flashy. Not angry. Just quiet faces. Dock workers, single mothers, retirees. All describing the same bank. The same man. The teaser ends with one sentence. He didn't know the man he humiliated was being watched by the world. Views explode. Public outrage ignites. Sponsors panic. Subscribe reminder, beautiful souls. If your heart is racing right now, hit that button. You don't want to miss how this ends. Victor watches the clip in disbelief. "That footage is illegal," he snarls. But legality doesn't stop truth once it breathes. The regulator who stalled the case resigns. Another steps forward. And then, unexpectedly, the bank's janitor comes forward. An old woman named Esther. She'd seen it all. "I was there," she says on camera, "when the old man fell and when no one helped." Her testimony breaks the dam. Adrian stands before a press conference. Not in a suit. In the same worn jacket his father wore that morning. "This isn't about money," Adrian says. "It's about dignity." His voice doesn't shake. "This deal is canceled permanently, and every future partnership we enter will require one thing first: humanity audits." The crowd erupts. Victor watches from his office, hands shaking. This time, there's no silence to hide him. The final blow comes quietly. A warrant. Signed. Unsealed. Victor Hale is escorted out of the bank he once ruled. As he passes through the lobby, cameras flash. He looks down. At the floor. At the spot where everything began. And for the first time, He understands what it costs to throw a man away. But justice isn't finished yet. Victor Hale doesn't walk out of the bank as a powerful man. He's escorted. Shoulders hunched, tie loosened, eyes fixed on the floor that once reflected his dominance. Cameras flash like judgment. The same lobby that watched Daniel Cola collapse now watches Victor shrink. And this time, no one looks away. Weeks later, the verdict arrives quietly but decisively. Federal charges, lifetime ban from banking, asset seizures, civil settlements with every family wronged under his authority. Victor Hale isn't just punished. He's erased from the system he abused. Justice doesn't shout. It closes doors forever. Hey, beautiful souls, before we go any further, where are you watching from right now? One last location check, because this ending belongs to all of us. At Daniel Cola's graveside, Adrian stands with his family. Children hold flowers. Dock workers stand shoulder to shoulder with executives. Adrian kneels and places the ID gently against the headstone. The same ID that was tossed away. Now honored. I didn't use your name to destroy, Adrian says softly. I used it to protect. The wind moves through the trees like an answer. Cola Global Logistics announces a new initiative days later. The Daniel Cola Dignity Standard. Every partner bank, every institution, every executive floor. Anonymous audits, humanity benchmarks, zero tolerance for abuse of power. Companies scramble to comply. Not out of fear. Out of respect. Families once displaced receive restitution. Jobs are restored. Education funds are created for children whose parents were silenced by bureaucracy. Adrian doesn't appear in commercials. He doesn't take credit. He lets the work speak. One afternoon, Adrian walks into a small community bank. No entourage. No announcement. He hands over his ID. The teller smiles warmly. Welcome, sir. Adrian nods. Test passed. Beautiful souls, this is where it comes full circle. The opening crisis, the humiliation, the collapse, the silence, transforms into something larger than revenge. It becomes reform. Adrian returns to the docks one evening. The sun sets over cranes and water. A young worker approaches him. My dad says your father taught him how to stand up straight, the boy says. Adrian smiles. He taught me too. Final engagement close, beautiful souls. Thank you for taking this incredible journey with me. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that dignity matters, hit that subscribe button, share this story, and tell me in the comments. What part stayed with you the most? Because power will always exist. But so will legacy. And when justice is guided by humanity, no act of cruelty ever truly disappears.